Welcome to today's card creation using Craftie Cafe products. That was almost a mouthful. What we'll be using is some distress oxiding, some lawn fawn dyes and stamps and some MFT paper, and bringing in some tailored expressions and Nouveau drops. So here are a range of distress oxide inks. We'll also be doing some heat embossing using the white, opaque, bright white regular. One of my favorite white embossing powders to use. This my favorite things, Lucky Prince sweet 6x6 paper. It's just beautiful. It has gorgeous little mini hearts, stars and circles, and it's such a sweet card to pack to have in your stash. Bringing into view some dies that I've brought in, so stitched heart stackables from Lawn Fawn. You can see I've done like a little window kind of thing on this card, and then also the small stitch rectangle. It's a bit of pretty much a staple in my collection, and this +1 Lawn Fawn baby stem set. Oh, it's been so sweet to play with. Now I have brought into view this Tailored Expressions Hello Baby card, and it does come with these beautiful dies where it comes with the cloud as well as the little intricate dies to make like a little mobile. So here's the card I made. I've brought into view. We didn't make it today. It's just a card that I've already pre-made, and I'm going to show you what we're going to make. So I've got some manatee grey cardstock and some die cut stitch rectangle watercolor paper, cold press Strathmore. Now I want to protect my surface, so I've got my craft mat, some distress oxide inks and my distress sprayer. Now I do recommend having a brush, clean water, and also wetting your brush beforehand. So I'm going to be showing you a couple of techniques. So I've placed the ink, the distress oxide ink, directly on the craft mat, spritzing heavily over the ink and then pressing my watercolor cardstock on top. So just lifting that up, quite happy with that. You don't have to waste that ink. I have just specifically for this video, but I would normally have just sat that ink up, but I had to keep going. So now again with the ink directly on the mat, this time I'm saturating my cardstock first, then picking it up, the ink, with a wet brush. The brush wasn't as wet as what I'd like, so I made sure when I used the yellow this time it was very saturated and it was clean. So make sure you do clean in between as well, so you don't get that murky muddled look. So just bringing this into view. Once I'm happy with that, I just set aside. I do get a tissue and mop up some extra of the water residue and just taking it off. So this technique now is drying in between layers, and this way you can actually see the layers form on top of the other. I do speed up because I think this is a little bit of a lengthy process. It's not I love it. Depends what kind of look I'm wanting. I really wanted to aim for the washed out look, but I wanted to show you today another effect that you can get with the distress oxide inks. So you can layer it. It's just beautiful, and the colors layer on top really, really well. With this ink though, I didn't want it, I picked a little bit up because I didn't want it to go murky really quick. And then once I've dried this, you can see I lay it again and it just layers and layers and layers. It's beautiful to play with, and I hope you get some from Craftie Cafe online. It's perfect. So then I bring in my more mustard. Is it more mustard? Wild honey. Okay, so I bring this in and I just show you the 3 different looks. And it's all the same looks pretty much. I love the layered look more so, but I wanted to get a more soft look for the baby cards. Okay, so I have chosen 3 of the stamp images. The last image, which is the mobile, I don't end up using, so I do edit that out, so I do apologize for that. So I've got the little oven with the bun in it. Isn't it cute? And I have got the carriage, and I do a paper piecing technique with this one. So I bring into view the paper again, I stamp on it, and I hand cut them, which I know can be a bit of a pain, but I got the beautiful coloured and details of this. I used really good fine paper snips from EK Success as well, and I've just watercoloured these in using my Faber-Castell's watercolour pencils, which I'll list in the product description below. So I just do a light colour wash. I don't concentrate too hard on this. and to lighten the color, because the pigments are strong on the pencils, I pick up the pigment, I've got a little bit of water on my block, and I wash it down so I get more a really light washed out look. So it's another way to handle and control your pigment on your brush. And you can always test it out beforehand, but I've done this technique before where I didn't have to go too heavy by having some extra water on the block as well. So just picking some brown up here now. Had a pink cupcake with a brown chocolate base. And putting some pink on the cheeks of the oven. So I hand cut this out, and I then work on to the next baby carriage, where I paper snip this all out. I didn't want to bore you, so I've gone ahead and edited that out. I have got in some liquid glue here, multi matte medium, that I've put in a bottle already with a fine tip applicator. And then I also bring into view, I've got this little yellow, it's one of the same 6x6 paper, but I fine cut it out, and that did take a lot of time. So bringing in now, working on the card bases. Here is the card stock, the watercolor card stocks that we use. I'm just deciding where I'm going to cut this, and bringing that into view. So I foam mount that back watercolor cardstock as well, quite heavily, and all of these are foam mounted on. Now I do use some creative Couture Creations foam squares. They're the 3D foam squares. The small ones are perfect for little images, and I also do some heat embossing. So the heat embossing I use is from Wow, and I use the Wow ink pad as well. And this embossing powder is the regular opaque bright white, and it is bright. It stands out. It's perfect bright white. It doesn't dull when you heat emboss it. So I love this heat embossing powder. It's one of my favorites. So once I've heat embossed these on strips of darker grey cardstock, which I go a little bit darker than the Manatee card base, just so it stands out, I fiddle around here with some pennant cutting and also the papers, strips of the same paper pack. So here you can really just coordinate as much as you want when you use the paper, and I've just brought in the yellow to match the carriage for this one, and I just place it, take my time placing it. I actually want it to be offset and on a bit of a diagonal, so I didn't make it properly straight on purpose. You may think it wasn't, but it was on purpose. Okay, so I brought the little carriage here. I'm going to foam mount it up, and these, as I said, this size is perfect for the little intricate stuff. I love it, absolutely love it. Bring it into view, and also decide where I'm going to place these pennants exactly. I will adhere the yellow paper down directly onto the watercolor cardstock, and then I'll foam mount the heat embossed sentiment that's on the grey. Now I've slightly offset it. I'll give it a little bit of a trim once I've finished placing these sentiments on, and I will use my scissors again, my paper snips, and sorry it's out of view. I didn't realize I was out of view, and I'm happy with that. Now overall I really think this card needs to be embellished, so I've brought in some beautiful Nouveau drops from Tonic. I've got the Crystal Drops Gloss White, and I go in threes, and then I bring in the actual Glitter Drops White Blizzard, and then also the Crystal Drops Caribbean Ocean. This is a pretty one. And you'll notice when you use the clear, it actually picks up the back color. So it's really good to use if you don't actually have, you know, most of the colors in the Nouveau drops. If you get the clear, it transparents the color and brings it forward from the back of it. So here's the second card. I'll only make the two cards to view, but you will see the range in my blog post. Now I just keep this pretty simple. I was going to place the pink paper down. I didn't end up deciding to keep it. I thought it was too much. Keep it simple. I bring in again my Crystal Drops, the Caribbean Ocean, and I use these as the little drops, as the knobs on the oven, and they are perfect. It's just a sweet little element to add, nothing else. And then I also bring in, now I believe this is the Jewel Drop Key Lime, or, no, hang on. beg my pardon, it's the gloss apple green. So there you go, using the crystal drops as little elements. Hope you like today's card. This is the one up close. I do end up adding some wheels on the Nuvo drops. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you later.